I went to the hospital to see my sister's newborn baby, but before I reached her room, I heard my husband laughing. Then he said something that stopped my heart cold. Relax. She still thinks the baby is hers someday, but right now, she's just our ATM. And the worst part? My own mother agreed. Hospitals are supposed to smell like hope. At least that's what people say. But the day I walked into Peachtree Memorial Hospital in Atlanta, the only thing I smelled was antiseptic and betrayal. My name is Marissa Clark, and the day my sister gave birth was the same day my entire life fell apart. But strangely enough, it was also the day I finally became free. It was a warm Tuesday morning when I drove to the hospital. The sun was shining, traffic was light, and I had a small yellow gift bag sitting on the passenger seat beside me. Inside the bag were tiny baby clothes, soft cotton onesies, little socks no bigger than my thumb. I had spent nearly 30 minutes in the store choosing them, not just because my younger sister Valerie had just given birth, but because babies meant something deeply personal to me, something painful. For 3 years, my husband Brandon and I had been trying to have a baby. 3 long years, doctor visits, fertility treatments, hormone injections, endless tests, and every single month ended the same way. Silence, disappointment, another negative test. Another quiet night where Brandon would hug me and whisper, "Don't worry, Marissa, our time will come." I believed him. I trusted him. Because when you love someone, you don't imagine they're capable of destroying you. You're walking into the hospital. The hospital lobby buzzed with the quiet rhythm of new life. Nurses walked past with clipboards. A man held balloons that said, "It's a boy." Somewhere down the hall, a newborn cried. I smiled to myself. Despite everything I had gone through, I was genuinely happy for Valerie. She had always wanted to be a mother. Even though we weren't as close as we used to be growing up, I thought becoming an aunt might bring us closer again. Maybe it would heal the distance between us. Maybe our family could finally feel whole again. I grabbed the gift bag and headed toward the maternity wing. Room 317. Valerie's room. The moment everything changed. I was halfway down the hallway when I heard a voice I knew better than my own reflection. My husband, Brandon. At first I smiled. Or, I thought, he came to visit the baby too. But then I heard the tone in his voice. Not warm, not kind. He was laughing, a slow, smug laugh. And then he said something that froze my blood. "She still has no idea." My footsteps stopped. My fingers tightened around the gift bag. Another voice joined him. My mother. Evelyn. Calm, cold, almost amused. "Of course she doesn't," my mother replied. "Marissa has always been too trusting for her own good." Something twisted painfully inside my chest. Why were they talking about me? Why did it sound like I wasn't supposed to hear this? I stepped closer to the door. It was slightly open. And that's when Brandon said the sentence that shattered everything. "Honestly, at least she's useful for something." He chuckled. She may not be able to give me a child, but she's one hell of a cash machine." My vision blurred. For a second I wondered if I had misheard, if maybe my brain was twisting the words into something cruel. But then, my sister laughed, a soft, satisfied laugh. "Valerie, don't worry," she said. "Now that the baby's here, we can finally stop pretending." My heart slammed against my ribs. Pretending? Pretending what? Then Brandon spoke again, and the next sentence felt like a knife sliding straight into my chest. "The baby looks just like me anyway," he said proudly. "We didn't even need a DNA test." Silence filled the hallway. My entire world tilted sideways. My husband, my sister, a baby. No, no, no! That couldn't be what they meant. But then my mother said the words that removed all doubt. "You two deserve to be happy together," she said gently. And then, the sentence I will never forget as long as I live: "Marissa was never good enough for either of you." The sound of my world breaking. The gift bag slipped from my hand. It landed softly on the floor. Inside, the tiny baby socks spilled onto the tiles. My hands were shaking so badly I had to press them against the wall to steady myself. Inside the room, they kept talking, like nothing had happened, like I didn't exist. "So, what's the plan?" Valerie asked. Brandon sighed lazily. "Same as always. Marissa keeps paying the bills, and we raise our son." Our son. Our son. The words echoed through my skull like thunder. 3 years of fertility treatments. Thousands of dollars. Doctor visits Brandon insisted on paying for. Money disappearing from our account. Money he said was going toward business investments. And suddenly, every missing piece snapped together. The fertility clinic, the withdrawals, the late nights, Valerie's pregnancy. The truth hit me so hard I almost collapsed. They hadn't just betrayed me, they had used me. I didn't burst into the room. I didn't scream. I didn't confront them. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away silently. I slowly stepped backward, one step, then another. My heart was pounding so loudly I thought they might hear it through the door. But they didn't. They were too busy celebrating their perfect little secret. By the time I reached the elevator, my hands had stopped shaking. Something inside me had changed. The woman who walked into that hospital had been hopeful, trusting, soft. But the woman stepping into that elevator was something else entirely. Because betrayal that deep doesn't just break you. Sometimes it awakens you. The elevator doors closed with a soft metallic click. Inside the mirrored walls, I saw my reflection staring back at me. But the woman looking at me didn't look like the same person who had walked into that hospital 20 minutes earlier. My eyes were dry, my breathing steady, my heart strangely calm. Because shock has a strange way of working. First, it crushes you. Then it clears your mind. As the elevator descended, one brutal truth settled in my chest. My husband had a child with my sister, and my own mother knew. Worse. They were all using me. Not just emotionally, financially. By the time I stepped out into the hospital parking lot, the warm Atlanta air wrapped around me. But I barely felt it. I sat inside my car and stared at the steering wheel. 3 years of memories began replaying themselves like a movie I suddenly understood for the first time. Brandon working late. Valerie needing financial help. My mother constantly telling me to be patient with Brandon. Every missing dollar. Every strange excuse. It had all been right in front of me, and I had trusted them. The thought made my stomach twist. But then something unexpected happened. Instead of crying, I started thinking, strategically. Because if there was one thing people underestimated about me, it was this. I was not stupid. I was just loyal. And loyalty can look a lot like blindness until the moment the truth appears. I turned the ignition key. As my car engine hummed to life, I whispered something quietly to myself. Okay, Marissa, let's see how smart they really think you are. When I got home that afternoon, the apartment felt eerily quiet. Brandon was still at the hospital, of course, celebrating the birth of his son, with my sister and my mother. The thought almost made me laugh. But instead of crying or throwing things, I did something far more dangerous. I opened my laptop. Then I logged into our joint bank account. At first glance, everything looked normal. Bills paid, mortgage deducted, utilities processed. But this time I wasn't glancing. I was studying, month by month. transaction by transaction. And that's when the pattern started appearing. Small withdrawals, $300 here, $500 there, $900 at a time. At first glance, they looked harmless. But when I added them together, my breath caught in my throat. Over $42,000. $42,000 gone. And the dates. They lined up perfectly with the timeline of Valerie's pregnancy. Doctor visits, prenatal appointments, hospital deposits. My hands trembled slightly as I leaned back in my chair. Not from weakness, from realization. Brandon hadn't just betrayed me. He had financed another family with my money. The betrayal was no longer just emotional, it was legal. And suddenly, I knew exactly what I needed to do. There was only one person I could trust with something like this. My college friend, Lauren Mitchell. We met in law school years ago before life took us in different directions. She became one of the best family attorneys in Atlanta. I became the wife of a man who secretly had a child with my sister. Life is funny that way. My hands hovered over my phone for a moment. Then I pressed her contact. She answered on the third ring. Marissa. Wow, it's been forever. Everything okay? I hesitated. Then I said quietly, no. There was a pause on the other end. Lauren's voice shifted instantly from friendly to professional. What happened? I took a deep breath. You might want to sit down. 1 hour later, Lauren sat across from me at my kitchen table. Her briefcase was open, her legal pad already filled with notes. I had just finished telling her everything. The hospital, the conversation, the baby, the financial records. When I finally stopped speaking, silence filled the room. Lauren slowly leaned back in her chair. Then she said 4 words that changed everything. Marissa, this is huge. I frowned. Meaning? She tapped her pen against the table. This isn't just infidelity. She pointed at my laptop screen. This is financial fraud. I blinked. What? Lauren nodded slowly. If he used marital funds to secretly support another household, especially with deception involved. She leaned forward. That's financial misconduct. My pulse quickened. And if your mother and sister knowingly participated? Lauren finished the sentence calmly. That could legally be considered conspiracy. The word hung in the air between us. Conspiracy. Suddenly the entire situation felt different, bigger, more serious. Lauren closed her notebook and looked directly at me. So here's the real question. Her eyes were sharp, focused, strategic. What do you want to do? For a moment, I thought about the hospital hallway, Brandon's voice, Valerie's laugh, my mother calling me a failure. Then I thought about the baby socks still lying somewhere on that hospital floor, and something cold settled inside my chest. I want my life back, I said quietly. Lauren nodded once. Then we do this the smart way. Lauren explained everything step by step. No confrontations yet, she said firmly. They think you're clueless. That's your biggest advantage. I nodded slowly. What should I do? Act normal. Normal? Lauren smiled slightly. Yes. Be the same supportive wife you've always been. She began listing instructions. Meanwhile, collect financial statements, screenshot bank transfers, save text messages, track suspicious payments, record conversations if possible. Evidence, she said. The stronger the evidence, the harder they fall. I swallowed. And the divorce? Lauren smiled in a way that made me realise why she was one of Atlanta's most feared lawyers. Oh, Marissa, she said softly. By the time we're done, divorce will be the least of Brandon's problems. For the first time that day, I smiled. The next few weeks felt like living inside a strange movie. During the day, I was the same Marissa everyone expected. I called my sister to congratulate her. I sent flowers to the hospital. I even visited the baby once. Valerie acted sweet. Brandon acted loving. My mother acted proud. They truly believed I knew nothing. But at night, the real work began. Bank statements, screenshots, phone records, credit card reports. I discovered things that made my stomach turn. Hotel bookings, private transfers, payments to a pediatric clinic. Brandon had even used my credit card to buy a crib for his son with my sister. Every discovery hurt, but each one also strengthened my resolve, because I wasn't just collecting evidence, and I was building a case. And the day that case exploded, none of them would see it coming. But there was still one person who deserved to know the truth. Someone who had also been lied to. Someone who had unknowingly raised 2 daughters. Who had just destroyed their own sister. My father, Richard Clark. Telling him would be the hardest part of all, but it also might be the most important. Because once he knew, everything would change. And when the truth finally came out, it wouldn't just break one marriage, it would tear an entire family apart. For several days, I avoided making the call, not because I was afraid of telling my father the truth, but because I knew what the truth would do to him. My father, Richard Clark, had always believed in family above everything else, and he was the kind of man who fixed broken chairs instead of replacing them. The kind of man who stayed up late helping us with homework. The kind of man who believed his daughters would always protect each other. And now I was about to tell him that one daughter had betrayed the other in the worst possible way. I stared at my phone one evening, my thumb hovering over his name. Finally, I pressed call. He answered immediately. "Marissa." "Sweetheart, I was just thinking about you. Have you seen the baby yet?" My chest tightened. "Yes," I said softly. There was a pause. Something in my voice must have sounded wrong. "What's going on?" he asked gently. I swallowed hard. "Dad, can we meet tomorrow?" The next afternoon, we met at a small cafe near downtown Atlanta. It was one of my father's favourite places. Quiet, simple. Warm sunlight streamed through the large windows, painting golden patterns across the wooden tables. When he walked in, he smiled the way he always did when he saw me. That same proud, gentle smile. For a moment, I almost changed my mind. Almost decided to keep the truth buried. But lies had already destroyed enough. He sat down across from me. "All right," he said with a chuckle. "You look serious. What's going on?" My hands trembled slightly as I slid a small folder across the table. "Dad, I need you to look at something." He opened the folder. Inside were copies of the financial statements, text messages, photos, and a printed transcript of the hospital recording. At first, he didn't understand what he was looking at. Then he started reading, slowly, carefully. His smile faded, his brows furrowed, his lips parted slightly, as by the time he reached the last page, his hands were shaking. He looked up at me. "Marissa," his voice cracked. This can't be real." Tears burned in my eyes, but I forced myself to stay calm. "I wish it wasn't." He read the hospital transcript again, his eyes stopping at the sentence my mother had said. "Marissa was never good enough for either of you." My father leaned back in his chair like the air had been knocked out of him. For a long time, he said nothing. Finally, he whispered, "Your sister and your husband." I nodded. "And Mom knew." That was the moment his heart truly broke. He closed his eyes, pressing his fingers against his temples. "I raised you girls to protect each other," he murmured. I thought our family was stronger than this." I reached across the table and gently placed my hand over his. You didn't fail us, Dad." He looked at me, tears shining in his eyes. "They fooled you too." Silence settled between us. But after a moment, something changed in his expression. The sadness slowly hardened into something else. Resolve. "What do you need from me?" he asked. I took a deep breath. "Your support. And your silence." His eyebrows lifted. "Silence?" I nodded. "I'm building a legal case." He looked surprised. But then slowly, a small proud smile appeared on his face. "That's my girl." After that meeting, my father became my quiet ally. He didn't confront my mother. He didn't confront Valerie. He didn't confront Brandon. Instead, he watched, listened, waited. Meanwhile, I continued living my double life. Every morning, Brandon kissed me goodbye before leaving for work. Sometimes he even asked about my fertility appointments. But the irony almost made me laugh. He had no idea I already knew the truth. He had no idea every word he said was being measured, every action recorded. And slowly, his mask began to slip. When people think they've gotten away with something, they become sloppy. Brandon was no different. One night, he left his phone on the kitchen counter while he showered. The screen lit up with a message. From Valerie, my sister. My heart pounded as I glanced at it. The message preview read, "The baby keeps smiling when he hears your voice. He knows who his real daddy is." For a moment, rage surged through me. But instead of reacting, I calmly picked up the phone. I unlocked it. Yes. Brandon had been careless enough to keep the same password for years. Inside the messages, I found months of conversations. Photos, plans, secret meetings, so even discussions about how long they could continue using my money before I noticed. One message from Valerie made my stomach turn. "Don't worry, Marissa's too busy crying about infertility to notice anything." I quietly took screenshots of everything. Then I placed the phone exactly where I had found it. When Brandon came out of the shower, I smiled at him sweetly. "Dinner's ready," I said. He smiled back, clueless. The next day I met Lauren again. When she saw the new evidence, her eyes widened. "Oh, wow," she murmured. "This is even worse than I expected." I sat across from her desk. "What does it mean?" She leaned forward. "It means we have them." Lauren began outlining the next phase of the plan. "Marissa, we're going to let them think everything is normal for a little longer." I frowned slightly. "Why?" Her smile was almost mischievous. "Because the longer they lie, the stronger your case becomes." She tapped the stack of printed messages. "When this goes to court," she paused, "they won't just lose the marriage. They'll lose everything." For the first time since the hospital hallway, I felt something strange inside my chest. Not revenge, not hatred. Something quieter. Justice. 3 weeks later, Brandon returned from what he called a business trip. He walked into the apartment carrying his suitcase, humming softly. He had no idea what was waiting for him. The living room was quiet. Dinner was set on the table. Candles were lit. Soft music played in the background. The perfect illusion of a loving home. "Marissa!" he called out. I stepped into the room, calm, elegant, completely composed. "Welcome home," I said. He smiled. "Oh, wow, this looks nice." I nodded toward the dining table. "There's something for you." A brown envelope sat beside his plate. Brandon picked it up curiously. As he opened it, his smile vanished, because inside that envelope was the beginning of the end. Brandon stood at the dining table staring into the brown envelope. For a few seconds he didn't move. Then slowly, he pulled the papers out. The first page was simple, a clean white document with bold legal text across the top. His fingers froze. "What is this?" he asked, his voice suddenly tight. I leaned calmly against the kitchen counter. You should keep reading. His breathing grew heavier as he flipped to the next pages. Printed screenshots, bank withdrawals, hotel reservations, text messages, photos of him and Valerie together. And finally, the transcript, the hospital recording, and his face drained of colour. Marissa. He looked up at me like someone who had just seen a ghost. This isn't what you think. I almost laughed. Isn't that always the first line people use when they're caught? I walked over to the table and gently pressed a button on my phone. The room filled with his voice. She has no clue. Then Valerie's laugh. Then my mother's voice. Marissa was never good enough. The audio played for nearly 30 seconds, long enough for the truth to sit heavily in the room. When it ended, the silence was suffocating. Brandon's shoulders slumped. He looked smaller somehow, cornered. Marissa, please. His voice trembled. I can explain. I shook my head slowly. No, I said calmly. You really can't. He ran his hands through his hair nervously. It didn't happen the way you think, he insisted. Oh? I asked quietly. Then tell me how it happened. He hesitated, which was answer enough. Finally, he muttered, It started as a mistake. I tilted my head. A mistake? Yes, he said quickly. One night, Valerie and I had too much to drink and accidentally made a baby. I finished. His mouth closed. The silence said everything. You used my money to raise that baby, I continued calmly. You used my credit card to buy the crib. You used our joint account to pay the hospital. Brandon's face twisted with desperation. I was going to tell you eventually. I let out a small breath. After how long? He didn't answer, because we both knew the truth. He was never going to tell me. Finally, Brandon looked down at the divorce papers again. Then he looked back at me. Something dark flickered in his eyes. You're not getting anything, he snapped suddenly. My eyebrows lifted slightly. Oh. He stood up, trying to regain control. You think a judge is going to believe your little story? I smiled, not cruelly, just calmly. Then I slid another folder across the table. Lauren's evidence file, financial records, screenshots, recorded calls, legal documentation. Brandon opened it slowly. The colour drained from his face again. You recorded me, he whispered. Yes. You tracked the money? Yes. His voice dropped to a whisper. You went to a lawyer? Yes. Then I delivered the sentence that ended the conversation. You fooled me for years, Brandon. I held his gaze steadily. But you will not fool a judge. 3 months later, we stood inside Fulton County Family Court. The room felt cold and formal. Brandon sat across the room with his lawyer. Valerie sat behind him holding the baby. My mother sat beside her. None of them looked at me. My father sat next to me quietly. His hand rested gently over mine. The hearing began. Lauren stood confidently as she presented the case, the evidence, the financial records, the text messages. Then finally, the recording. The courtroom fell silent as Brandon's voice echoed through the speakers. She's just our ATM. Gasps filled the room. Valerie's face turned red. My mother stared down at the floor. The judge listened carefully to everything, every detail, every lie, every stolen dollar. Finally, he leaned forward, his expression stern. This court finds clear evidence of financial misconduct and marital fraud. Brandon's lawyer tried to object. The judge raised his hand. Enough. He looked directly at Brandon. You knowingly misused marital assets to support an extramarital relationship and concealed a child conceived during that relationship. Then he turned toward Valerie and my mother. And the involvement of additional family members in this deception is deeply disturbing. The gavel struck the desk. The sound echoed through the courtroom. The verdict. The ruling was swift. Brandon was ordered to repay the stolen funds. I received the majority of our marital assets: the house, the savings, the investments. Brandon lost nearly everything. Valerie sat frozen in shock. My mother looked like she had aged 10 years in one afternoon. But strangely, I didn't feel victorious. I felt something quieter, something lighter. Freedom. 1 year later. A year later, my life looked completely different. I moved into a new apartment overlooking the Atlanta skyline. I started my own consulting business, something I had always wanted to do but never had the courage. My father and I now had dinner together every Sunday. Our relationship had grown stronger through everything. As for Brandon, he disappeared from my life completely. Valerie now struggled to raise the baby alone, and my mother? She lived with the consequences of the choices she had made. One evening, I stood on my balcony watching the sunset over the city. The sky glowed orange and gold, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. Because the woman who once walked into that hospital hallway, broken and betrayed, no longer existed. I wasn't their victim anymore. I wasn't their bank account, and I certainly wasn't their failure. I was simply Marissa Clark, a woman who walked away and finally chose herself. Life lessons from the story. Life lesson 1. Betrayal often comes from the closest people. Sometimes the deepest wounds are not caused by strangers, but by the people we trust the most. This story reminds us that blind trust without awareness can leave us vulnerable. Life lesson 2. Silence is not weakness. Marissa did not scream or fight in the hospital hallway. Instead, she stayed silent and gathered evidence. Sometimes the smartest response to betrayal is strategy, not emotion. Life lesson 3. Financial independence. Matters. One major reason the betrayal lasted so long was financial manipulation. Knowing your finances, protecting your resources, and being aware of shared accounts can save you from serious damage. To life lesson 4. Healing requires walking away. Closure does not always come from revenge. Sometimes the greatest victory is walking away from toxic people and building a new life. Life lesson 5. Your worth is not defined by others. Marissa was called a failure, yet she rebuilt her life, career, and peace. Your value does not depend on what others say about you. If this story moved you, take a moment to reflect on the people around you. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you trusted? What would you have done if you were in Marissa's position? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might help someone else going through the same situation. And if you enjoy powerful real-life stories like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story.